Welcome back to this week's webinar for the second part in our series with Amy from Trybe, where we're going to look into more data and see how we can use that to better drive our businesses to know what do spa goers want. Thank you for joining me, Amy.
Thanks for having me back.
Well, you're very welcome. We had some good feedback from last time, so it'd be great to share more if we can. Shall I move on to the first slide for us?
Yes. So this slide is kind of all around what are consumers buying, and it loosely touches on what we spoke about last time. So I know that some people were asking you around what's kind of in demand and what are people buying. So all bookings through Trybe are packages, and that's 92%. So that's a huge majority in comparison to 8%, which are standalone individual treatments or items. So that's a huge difference in what people are buying. And this does just like show the demand for holistic experiences that's like a special occasion or a treat, as opposed to something that is happening on an ongoing basis, but as a smaller revenue driver for businesses. And then when you look at the average package price of what is being sold, the average is £205. And this is for one person packages. So per person, people are spending £205. And this is an average over the past 12 months. Whereas we've seen that like some spas have packages that are £900 for one person. So the price really does vary. And it does just show that like there is demand for these luxury experiences, because when people are going, they're willing to spend a lot more than what people might traditionally think. And then this is also supported by data that I saw on spa seekers. So across 22 countries, Google searches for spa days increased by 73% in 2023. So that just also like reinforces that people are searching for spa days, they're looking for packages as well as actually purchasing them. So that's just like a really nice overview of kind of where the market's at. And then when we looked into whether that's included in packages or whether that's a standalone treatment, the number one thing was a massage, and then followed by facials, which were the second most popular bought through the platform. And this again is supported by Google data, which found that over 500,000 monthly searches were for massages. So it just shows that the data across the globe and for the UK is very similar.
Wow. And then, so with packages, when you're talking about a package, you're talking about a spa day. So with the access and a standalone spa day, whereas the individual bookings, they're booked on or tagged on as part of a hotel stay. Is that what you're kind of seeing here?
Not necessarily. So like tagged onto a hotel stay, or could be a package. So it could be a spa package day, for example. For Trybe anyway, a package is something that encompasses multiple things. So it can include access to wet facilities, dining, and an individual treatment, or sometimes it is just lunch and wet facility access. It really varies, but it's ultimately something that is more than just a treatment. It's multiple things.
Okay. And then with the standalone individual treatments, that's just literally going in and booking a massage or booking a facial.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's right.
Ah, brilliant. And I think everyone who watches this will all be nodding, going, yes, massage is number one. And
Yeah.
always will be.
Yeah. When I was like looking into it, it didn't surprise me at all. You can have so many different types as well. So this is kind of just anything that is classed as a massage for our clients. And it is just a huge demand. And then just here on this second slide, you can kind of see how much people are charging and how much people are spending per treatment. So bookings through Trybe, as we've been saying, these are kind of the average spend per treatment for the 100 top popular ones. So the average spend on a massage is £97. The average spend on a facial is 96. And then we've got manicures and pedicures around the same price in the 50s. Then we've got pregnancy treatments, which are £103, which I think people do expect maybe a bit more because it's more specialist, it's more tailored to someone's needs and what their body needs and wants. And then down the bottom, we've got couples treatments or massages, and that is £208, which does reflect the average spend for individual treatments as well. And I think that it also kind of shows that like massages and facials are kind of an equal value experience to a customer. And then a manicure and a pedicure are more of a add-on. They're less of a primary revenue driver for businesses, and they're like a nice, oh, I'll throw that on while I'm there, as opposed to someone's going to a spa for a manicure or a pedicure. They'll probably go for the spa facilities and a massage. And again, like the average package cost, where we've seen prices go up to around like £900. We've seen some facials being sold through Trybe that go up to £3,000. We've seen medical treatments go up to £4,000. So like the demand is really there. There's so much drive for like a luxury one-off experience that properties can really capitalize on.
When you look at the data, so that actually raises a really good point. When you look at this data, how much can you break the data down? So say I'm a luxury hotel in London. Are you able to do a data analysis based on that for a guest or for a customer of yours if they wanted to be able to really break down what the competition are doing?
We can, definitely. It's like the capabilities are there, but it's not something we do on a regular basis. We've had some clients kind of ask for a deep dive into the data, but because it is a lot more niche, it's a lot more specific, it requires a lot of work from the team. So we definitely have the capabilities to do it, and we would love to have something on an ongoing basis where we could just easily get this, but we can like segment it by kind of markets. We can do it by like hotel property size. We can also do it by if someone's like a standalone spa, a bathhouse, a hotel resort, kind of we can split it that way. There are so many capabilities, and I would love to absolutely do them all. Yeah.
And you can segment obviously by location as well, can't you? Regionally, I would imagine, by London or southeast, southwest, I guess.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. And it's worth noting that all the data and all the price points I've spoken about so far are from UK properties only. So
yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. It's only when you said that, because obviously if you've got that £900 package here and someone doing a £99 package, it obviously averages out nationally, doesn't it? So if people are going, oh, well, £97 for a facial doesn't seem very high because they're in a luxury property charging 200 and something pounds a facial. It's just good to be able, when you're looking at data, always know what you've used behind the data, I guess, but to also know that they could come to you and say, actually, we want some quite specific data, please, if you're able to help us. So it's a win-win knowing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess whatever kind of platform people are using, what softwares they're using, they should have reporting, they should have functionalities where they can kind of look into, okay, what's the most popular, what's selling the most for us, and how can we capitalize on that. So
perfect. So what are consumer spending, and when?
yes, so last time we touched upon the increase for male spa bookings, and I've just reinforced that here because I think it was just a really important and great stat that people might have either not seen the last one. So increase in male spa bookings was up by 255% compared to 2024. And then when we've kind of looked into data more in the UK, wellness spending annually has increased by 31% since 2019. So the spending is huge, and the average person in the UK, so this is kind of all demographics, are spending around £2,500 a year. And the statistics kind of written here are for Gen Z and millennials. So Gen Z and millennial females per month are spending over £500 on wellness, and then males in the same demographic are spending over £400, which is crazy to me. But the spending is there.
And what do we class in that? What do they class within that wellness spend? Because that's a lot to be spending each month. That's treatments, is it? Is that products? What does that capture? That's a lot.
kind of anything in the wellness space. So it could be products, whether that's like skincare, it could be spa bookings, it could be treatments, it could be gym memberships, some medical treatments as well. So if someone's having kind of fillers or Botox, that's also included in that. So anything that could be classed as like a wellness activity. But £500 is still like a ridiculous amount, because I was then trying to add up like, how much am I spending?
You've read my mind. I'm sat here right now thinking to myself, how much do I spend? And then I'm like, actually, I do spend quite a lot, because when you add in like the gym membership cost, if you're on I'm on a David Lloyd membership, by the time I add that in, some treatments I may have, very lucky in the industry. Thank you very much to the brands that give me skincare, because I think I'd spend a lot if I had to pay for my skincare. So I do see how it can all rack up quite quickly, actually, especially if you've got like a subscription to a Whoop, or you use Health or any of these other apps. That all adds up as well, I guess. So, wow, what a number.
Yeah. So when I was looking into when people are spending, so when people are either booking their packages, when people are booking their treatments, it was really interesting to find that consumer spending increased by 6% on nutrition and fitness between December and January. So in December, people are actually spending more than you would expect. And this is kind of mirrored across the fitness industry as well. So gym membership spending increased for 11% in December and only increased by 4% in January. So I think this is just a really interesting point for kind of businesses to be aware of around when are they kind of marketing and targeting campaigns to people for, instead of the whole new year, new me marketing that everyone does do, which obviously a lot of people buy into it, but actually thinking, should I be targeting earlier in the year around December, November time, when people are probably more considered around, okay, I would like to have this in my gym membership, as opposed to January, and people are probably panicking thinking, oh, I overindulged a bit, I just need to go to the gym. So it was just a really interesting stat that I found around what people are spending on around wellness and nutrition and kind of fitness in December compared to January, when we all expect spending to be higher in January, to be fair.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we always assume new year, new you, people are going to suddenly jump on the membership bandwagon, but actually that people perhaps are spending before Christmas, because then they can get ready to indulge at Christmas, because Christmas is always seen about indulging. So I guess there's something around campaigns in spas on how do you add something to a membership? How do you get people to maybe upgrade before December, or, those sort of things, I guess, around the fitness side of it. That's the takeaway for what you should be doing ahead of December.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it was just really surprising, because I think you do think, oh, January's coming, and then it's a delayed afterthought, whereas actually positioning your marketing and positioning your offerings before is just a great way to also help with the revenue going into the new year.
So when are people booking versus when they're arriving? This is always really interesting, because I think we never really know what our lead time is. And obviously we need to know for marketing, for if you're going to do packages or discounts. So you've got some really interesting data here. So 28 days average time between booking and arriving.
Yeah, so in 2025, the average lead time between booking a spa break and arriving on site for your spa break was 28 days. And this is a 4-day decrease from 2024's average. So 2024, the average time was 32 days. And this just kind of signals spontaneous behaviour. So it makes it harder for spas to plan. But I guess analysing your specific trends and your specific booking data that you've got helps you kind of plan for team demand. Are people going to be on holidays? And also you can plan for capacity management. So how much space do we have for hotel guests if you are a part of a hotel, for example. So just having a look at what trends you're seeing. But on average through Trybe, we're seeing 28 days. And we're seeing that the average spend for the 28-day lead time window is £153. So bookings with a shorter lead time, we're also seeing a smaller spend in comparison to a longer lead time, which I think does kind of mirror what people do expect. And it's similar to what we've spoken about previously when you used to work in kind of spas and in the wellness industry.
Yeah, I think because it's sometimes if we panic, we start to discount, don't we? So you will see perhaps the shorter lead time, people are discounting on a Monday or something like that, and that's perhaps why the average spend reduces.
Yeah. So I kind of talking about discounts a bit further on. But yeah, ultimately that's kind of a summary of it. And then just to quickly jump back, sorry, around the longest booking times and kind of shortest booking times, we're seeing that 32 days is the longest booking gap and 12 days is the shortest booking gap. And these are very similar to what we've seen in 2024. It's like a shorter lead time, but ultimately nothing's massively changed in that front. And we're also finding that summer bookings do see the shortest booking gap, which kind of shows that bookings are impulsive in the summer as opposed to in the winter when people are really pre-planning for things to look forward to. They're thinking, oh, in a month's time, I'm going to book a spa break, as opposed to in the summer when you just think, oh, I'm going to book for next week because the weather's looking amazing and I want to use the outdoor pool, for example.
Which is what we all do. We all want to use the outdoor pools.
Yeah.
Then, so as a spa, obviously, if you know this, what can you do to impact that? If you can look and see that you've got short lead times coming up, is there anything you can do from a marketing perspective to try and get people to book earlier, I guess, or is there anything that we can think of?
I think one thing that people instantly think of to help kind of drive bookings for any period of time is to offer a discount. And I think it's really important to kind of remember your positioning and your brand image that you want when you are doing that. I think adding things on is always a better thing to do. So throwing on like a longer treatment for the same price as a shorter treatment, or adding a 3-course meal instead of a 2-course meal, just small things that don't really impact your bottom line or your budget, but things that to a consumer they think, oh, that's a really great offer, that's a really great deal, without decreasing the value of what you're offering, keeping your brand positioning strong, but then actually you're just adding a bit extra on to those people.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because actually, even today on LinkedIn, I saw a fantastic post from one of the general managers at Aquasana for a spa, saying how today is Kindness Day. So what they'd said is buy yourself a spa day and bring a friend for free. But they were doing that on specific
Yeah.
days in April now to actually drive people, I guess, to book in those times when they need the bookings to come in. So that was a really good example,
Mm-hmm.
actually. I was like, wow, that's amazing because you're not discounting, you're saying, hey, bring a friend. So I think, oh, I'm gonna buy it because it's really nice. I can take a friend. So there's loads of good stuff you can do around that, aren't there? I imagine. And you could, if you were worried about lead time, say if you book in September, if you book today for September, bring a friend for free, or get an upgrade glass of Prosecco or extra 15 minutes of treatment. You can get those longer lead times to make sure that you're filling up your diary.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something that we have seen across a lot of clients, that in the summer, their spa bookings are just naturally lower than the rest of the year. So thinking about, okay, summertime, the hotel's super busy, the spa might not be as busy. How can we help either bring in those hotel guests or bring people in from outside? And what you've just said around bringing a friend and things like that is such a great way to do that.
Oh, that's interesting. Just I was picking up on that. I didn't realize that you think that summer is a lower booking for spa than other times of the year. That would be really interesting to learn more about that, maybe for our next one, because I just assume that school holidays, more people booking in hotels, less corporates because you use your corporates in
Mm.
term time. I would have thought the other way round. So that's really interesting. It'd be good to know more about that.
Yeah, no, I think because we had a couple of people, a couple of clients mention it and they thought, are we the only ones? And when we actually did a wider look into all properties that we had, we actually noticed it was just a general shift that in the UK, July and August saw less bookings and less spa capacity than other months. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. New one to me and good to know.
Yeah.
So on to discounts. Do discounts impact booking timelines?
So these were really interesting and it kind of reinforces what you, Lucy, mentioned earlier. So we've seen that discounts, the value stays the same regardless of booking lead time, regardless of the time of year. And the average is around £44. So I think the smallest discount that we saw was about 40 and the biggest we saw was about 48. So it's always in the same region. But yeah, so then something that we noticed was the shortest lead time is when discounts are used the most, because that is when the lowest price is being sold as often. And it was in the £60 price point march for bookings that were up to 2 weeks before arrival, which was the complete opposite to 5 to 26 weeks, then saw the highest spending because people are kind of pre-planning and they're kind of thinking about their budgets more carefully, as opposed to these spontaneous bookings that are happening a week or two in advance. So I think this is just another point around kind of thinking about when are you offering your discounts, and are you offering discounts actually unnecessarily for certain treatments and certain package types, because people are going to book a spa break for a month's time whether you have a £10 discount code or not, for example. So just thinking really carefully around what are you offering, when are you offering it, and how far in advance do you want to offer these discounts to your guests or new clients?
Yeah, because I guess you don't want to be discounting too soon, do you? You don't want to be discounting months out for spaces that you know are going to fill anyway. And I can see why that makes sense, because in the last few weeks up to the day of booking, you're like, right, I've got 5 hours left. Let's put a discount on and try and sell those spaces. So it makes sense that that you get the discount nearer. But that's quite a big amount to discount at £44.
Yeah. And I thought we would have seen a bigger difference in whether it was 1 week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks, and so on. But actually, the difference didn't really change a huge amount, which surprised me a lot, because you would think a bigger discount was happening closer to arrival time, but actually it's getting taken up more closer to arrival time as opposed to the actual value.
Yeah, you're right. You would expect more discount nearer, wouldn't you? But I guess things always surprise us when we do these chats.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you to summarize. I'll hand over to you to summarize.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess just kind of packages are the most popular. They have been across our data and across our software for a few years now. So it's really important that businesses lead with an experience as opposed to just like a one-off treatment or a one-off item. Then I think everyone probably wouldn't, no one's going to be surprised by this, but massages and facials are the most popular. They're always going to be in demand, and thinking and coming up with new ways to kind of entice people to have repeat massages and facials are probably the bigger issue as opposed to selling them on a one-off basis. Then consumers are investing in their well-being long before the new year January burst that we've kind of always historically believed in. So thinking around October, November, positioning those offerings for December to kind of maximize on revenue before a January last minute buy. That's really important for businesses. Then the longer lead time leads to an average higher spend. So thinking about, are we unnecessarily offering a discount for a month in advance when someone's going to purchase it, whether we offer a discount or not? And then finally, around just discounts work best for last minute demand. So if you've got capacity, if you want to fill spaces in your property, if you want to sell more treatments for a certain day because you're going to have therapists in, thinking about discounts for a short-term, last-minute demand as opposed to a future revenue driver.
Yeah. So basically, don't discount too early, is what you're saying. It's hold your positioning up to 2 weeks before, rather than discounting too early, because the guests will spend the money.
Yeah. So just really thinking about your marketing. I guess this is kind of the focus for a few different points here around the wellness spending for the New Year's, around longer lead times, and when you're discounting. It's important to kind of think about your spa, your team, your capacity, and then your marketing messaging as well.
Yeah, and I think that really resonates, because I think sometimes the spa is sort of left on its own and trying to make the revenue. But actually, what the key message is, that you've said a few times, is actually you need to be working with your marketing team. You need to be working with your booking provider to have a look at your data, and also national data like we're doing, but also as a spa manager director, getting that time with the marketing team and saying, look, I've watched this webinar with Amy and Sarah, I've looked at our data, and actually we need to be looking at how we're doing the marketing to maximize the revenue for much further on, rather than discounting too early. I guess that's a key takeaway from this.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy, so much for this week's webinar. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to our next one together. Maybe we could touch a bit more on the summer stats, because if we're doing it in March, April sort of time, that will give people some information to then use for their summer bookings. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Amy, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speak soon.